This is the new C-Class Coupe from Mercedes. It's the company's first venture in the competitive coupe segment, offering a three-door shape with classic styling. Mercedes wants to bring new buyers to the brand, especially young blood.
Andreas
Heidel from Daimler says the C-Class family has been missing a sports coupe with classic proportions, and that's why the company has now decided to introduce the C-Class. Mercedes is trying to appeal to sporty, design-aware young customers who have maybe already driven the BMW 3 Series Coupe or an Audi A5, and he's convinced Mercedes can win over those customers with the new C-Class Coupe. To make it stand out, Mercedes has incorporated several designer touches into the new C-Class. The interior features a clear layout and a refined mix of materials. Luxury trim all around for both driver and passenger. The panoramic sunroof can retract at the push of a button and reveals the C-Class's sports seats with integrated headrests. Andreas Heidel from Daimler says the focus in designing the C-Class was to create a very striking, sporty design and to make sure the car is fun to drive. That means Mercedes has given the C-Class a very sporty flavor. He says the car is great fun and a real pleasure to drive. We're test driving the C250 CDI Blue Efficiency, the most powerful diesel unit in the C-Class range. According to Mercedes' own figures, it can cover 100 kilometers on just 4.9 liters of gasoline. An Eco Start-Stop function is fitted as standard to all models in the range, meaning the C-Class shouldn't be too hard on the wallet. Although compact, it has all those classic coupe dimensions, a short front overhang, long hood, and a steeply raked windscreen. Its sleek roofline is 4 centimeters lower than that of the C-Class sedan. The rear, short, squat, and sporty. The cabin, spacious, bright, and airy. The instruments are clear, and the layout of the dials and switches is user-friendly. The 3-spoke steering wheel with its central chrome inlay is taken from the CLS and offered as standard across the C-Class Coupe range. Andreas Heidel from Daimler says the new coupe will go on sale worldwide, but Mercedes is placing particular importance on the Western European market. He's expecting big demand for the car from German customers, and he says a coupe like this has been missing from the British market, which is a typical coupe market, and also from the US and Canada. With a base price of around 33,000 euros in Germany, it's the cheapest coupe on offer from Mercedes. It's the 4th coupe to enter the Mercedes range, and the company will be hoping its young upstart will attract young blood.
Three, 2, 1, go! This is the start of the 27th Shell Eco Marathon 2011, and we all are here now. Go, 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 go!
It's all go for the 27th Shell Eco Marathon. For 3 days, over 180 teams will be trying to cover the most ground on only 1 liter of gasoline, while recording the lowest emissions possible. 3,000 high school and college students from 26 European and African countries are taking part, and they've been preparing their energy-efficient vehicles for over a year. Teams can enter one of 2 categories: urban concept, in which the design must include practical features and be fit for road use, or the prototype category, where the teams can let their creativity run wild. Alongside a classic internal combustion engine, the teams can also power their vehicles with solar energy, a fuel cell, or batteries. In the first Shell Eco Marathon in 1985, all of the entrants were powered by gasoline. This year, half of the teams will use alternative energy sources. But for everyone, fuel efficiency remains the top goal. Peter Blauhof from Shell says the Eco Marathon is an important part of the company's smart mobility strategy, which attempts to reduce consumption by using fuel more efficiently. It's hoped that the Eco Marathon can help motivate young people to develop creative means of transport for the future. During the test runs, the teams are busy fine-tuning their vehicles to get every last bit of efficiency from them. Patrick says the goal is to drive 8 laps and try to consume as little as possible. He's doing similar to last year. He says he can drive exactly 7 laps and then freewheel the last stretch before coming to a stop 200 to 300 meters away from the finish line. The problem, he says, is that the vehicle is still consuming a little too much energy. It can make all the difference if half a bar of air pressure is released from the tires or if a wheel bearing is replaced. Little details like that. For the team from Hamburg, hydrogen is the fuel of the future. Other teams think electric power is the way to go. And for the first time, the Eco Marathon has its own category for electrically powered vehicles. Shell's Wolfgang Warnecke says electric power is very important for the engines of the future. He says it's especially suited for city driving, for short distances, and in small vehicles. That's definitely its optimal application. Now it's time to see whether the hard work of the past year will pay off for the teams. They'll all be trying to beat the record from last year: 4,896 kilometers on just 1 liter of fuel. The 25 German teams managed to win several prizes in the various categories. For many, it wasn't the first time they've competed, and they were able to draw on their experience from previous years. The University of Offenburg drove its electrically powered vehicle to 2nd place. Sabine says that everything finally went according to plan after last year when things went well, but not so well. This time, her team has 2 vehicles in the race. In the solar category, the Philipp Matthäus Hahn School from Balingen in southwest Germany also finished in 2nd place. Its driver Stephanie says everything has gone well so far, and the team's first test run was a complete success. The team was in 1st place, but then the fan belt gave her some problems. She hopes to solve the problem and then put in a good 2nd test run. The event's organizers are impressed with the variety of the entrants. Wolfgang Warnecke from Shell says the spirit of the young people and the innovative ideas they have come up with is really great. When you look at the vehicles, their lightweight construction, the aerodynamics, you also have to make sure it's practical too. And he's impressed with the motors. He's seen gasoline engines, diesel engines, fuel cells, hydrogen motors, and electrically powered vehicles like this one here. Having witnessed several new records, the 27th Shell Eco Marathon comes to a close. Over 3 days, 3,000 students from Europe and Africa have battled to build the most efficient vehicle. And they've managed to cover 5,000 kilometers with 1 liter of fuel, surpassing the record from the previous year by 14 kilometers. It was solar and battery power vehicles that came out on top. The teams have a lot of work ahead of them to get their vehicles ready for next year's competition. Then the 28th Shell Eco Marathon will be coming to Rotterdam in the Netherlands. The Mini family is growing. The latest addition is the Mini Coupe. Its design sets it apart from its older relatives. A two-seater, it's got a low, sporty silhouette with a fastback that can't be missed. The Coupe is also the first Mini to feature an active rear spoiler, which automatically ensures the car is streamlining the surrounding air when it's going at speeds over 80 kilometers an hour. The model sells in Germany starting at €19,550. With its latest SUV, Audi is giving its off-road line some compact class. The Q3 has the sporty figure of a coupe. Sharp edges frame elegantly curved panels. And of course, the Q3 features distinctive Audi head and tail lights. Drivers also have plenty of opportunity to put their own stamp on the Q3. Add-on units are available in 3 different colors. Prices for the smallest Q3 start at €29,900 in Germany. The Wrangler is a genuine Jeep. It's a direct descendant of the original 1941 Willys Jeep. The radiator grille has remained almost unchanged since then. Practicality and off-road durability have clearly dominated its design. Plenty of unpainted plastic trim decorates the body. That just makes the Wrangler's look even more rugged and gives it an advantage off-road. We're testing the Sahara model of the 5-door Jeep Wrangler Unlimited. Our tester, Matas Kurat, says he keeps finding intelligent solutions on the Wrangler that are positive surprises. In this Jeep, it's the rear seat headrests that fold back when the seat backs are folded down. The Jeep's interior is rustic and robust. The dashboard has been reworked in the latest generations. Placement of the window cranks in the middle of the dash rather than on the door is a bit quirky. Our tester Mata says there's one thing that unfortunately hasn't changed and is in desperate need of a rework, is how to take the roof off. First, you have to open this zip fastener and take the window out. And then, of course, repeat that on the other side. Then you unzip the rear window. And pull back this catch on the front of the windscreen and fold the roof back. Then you have to unlock these catches before you can fold the roof back even further, he says.
Das Dach noch weiter nach hinten zu klappen.
The last thing to do is pack everything away so that it doesn't look a mess. And then you can finally begin your journey. Driving in the open country makes the most sense because this is where the Jeep really shows its true strengths. That's thanks to selectable all-wheel drive system, gear reduction, and differential lock. It has everything you need to tackle the great outdoors, and the good suspension and high seating position make it comfortable to drive. The Wrangler makes light work of obstacles. That's thanks to its 25 centimeters of ground clearance. But in Germany, the Jeep Wrangler will be driven mostly on tarmac. Here, it drives similarly to a small pickup. Our tester Matas Kurat says the Jeep Wrangler is a difficult car to judge by traditional standards. On the road, he says, it has a spongy, indirect feeling. But off-road, it shows what it can do, and that is where it is most at home, in his opinion. He wouldn't want to leave it outside at night because with the zip fasteners, you never know whether it will still be there in the morning. But otherwise, he thinks it's a solid off-road vehicle for the price tag of between 30 and 40,000 euros.
Ansonsten für das Geld ungefähr zwischen 30 und 40.000 Euro ein recht solider Geländewagen.
Many cameras and radar sensors are needed to measure the differences in speed between a car and the one ahead of it. This is what an active brake assist or ABA system looks like when viewed from outside the vehicle. Active brake assist systems can help prevent or minimize the severity of a rear-end collision. So Germany's Automobile Association ADAC wants to compare some of these systems. ADAC's representative says the results of their accident research show that the second most common cause of serious accidents is following too close and causing a rear-end collision. So they decided to test active brake assist systems using 6 mid-range and upper mid-range cars. The cars taking part are the Volvo V60, Mercedes CLS, Audi A7, the VW Passat variant, the BMW 530d, and the Infiniti M37S. ADAC created what they call a balloon car, specially for this test. Should the test cars not stop in time, in spite of the emergency braking system, then the balloon should prevent serious damage from occurring. And they're off for the first test, driving towards a stationary object. With the Volvo and VW Passat, the ABA kicks in, and both cars manage to avoid collisions. By contrast, the Audi A7 provides a collision warning, but the brakes aren't triggered. While driving towards slower-moving objects, the ABA systems are supposed to reduce the speed from 50 kilometers per hour to 20. The VW, Mercedes, and Volvo perform well, but the Infiniti barely slows down at all. The next test separates the wheat from the chaff. Here, the cars travel at 100 kilometers an hour towards a vehicle going just 60. Only the Audi A7 manages to score well, reducing the speed by more than 30 kilometers per hour. While the BMW warns the driver in time, it only manages to slow down 12 kilometers an hour. In the next test, the cars approach a decelerating object. How will the active brake assist react when the car in front suddenly brakes? Here, the Audi and Mercedes score top marks. In contrast, the VW Passat can only reduce its speed by 15 kilometers per hour. That's not enough. Considering the faster a car is traveling, the higher the likelihood of sustaining serious injuries in an accident. At the end of the day, the Automobile Association delivers its verdict. Only one car received top marks. The Volvo V60 is the winner, says the man from ADAC. It impressed the experts with its very good warning system and its reaction when approaching stationary objects. It can prevent collisions entirely. He says Mercedes and Audi take a different approach. They classify accidents resulting from high differences in speed as being more important. So they can greatly reduce speed during a collision, but never prevent it entirely. Overall, he says the manufacturers are on the right road, but ABA systems need to become more affordable and be offered in compact cars as well. The man from ADAC adds that the collision warning systems shouldn't irritate drivers with beeping or blinking lights, but instead deliver a specific warning. He says one good approach is the active gas pedal, which automatically puts pressure on the driver's foot, thereby warning him to take his foot off the gas. Active security systems will play an even greater role in the cars of the future, he maintains. ESP is still the most important of these systems. But active brake assist can still play a valuable role in preventing accidents, or at least reducing their severity. While active brake assist systems basically make sense, they can never replace an alert driver who drives defensively and remains alert. the Porsche 911, the iconic sports car. Introduced in 1963, the throaty roar of its air-cooled engine became the 911's trademark. Several years after the car was introduced, Porsche came out with the more powerful 911S. Our test driver says it could hit 220 kilometers an hour and go from 0 to 100 in just under 7 seconds. A real sensation. He notes that a lawyer deemed such performance criminal. In the 1960s, many Germans bought their first cars and started hitting the highway. Most of the vehicles couldn't begin to keep pace with the racy 911. The car's performance and handling often overwhelmed ordinary drivers. Christoph Bauer says because the motor is located behind the rear axle, the car tends to oversteer. Occasionally, the rear end comes out of a curve first, which is why the driver's handbook includes the warning, "Not suited for beginners." But he says this just made the car more attractive. Creating cars with unique handling is a Porsche tradition, as are the two auxiliary seats in the back. The 356, Porsche's first series production model, was as good as transporting families as it was at taking sharp curves. The prototype for its successor, the 911, followed the same basic concept. Its rear engine made for good traction, whether on slippery surfaces or on the racetrack. Even today, the 911 still uses a rear-mounted engine. The original car body from 1963 was designed by Ferdinand Alexander Porsche. He was just 28 at the time. The car's timeless lines and elegant silhouettes still have the power to thrill. They provided the blueprint for the 911s that followed. The car's shallow but spacious trunk offers more space than most sports cars. With an engine speed of up to 7,200 RPM and a 5-speed gearbox which allowed for swift shifts from second to third, the 911 is a race car driver's dream. As is its 160 horsepower boxer engine with its 2 liters of cubic capacity. The Porsche 911S is from the Zeithaus Classic Car Museum in Wolfsburg. With its top speed of 220 kilometers per hour, the 911S was Germany's fastest series production car, a true milestone in automotive history. Our test driver says it's so raw and sporty, and with the tachometer in the middle, you know what's important. He feels the car's sporty agility really kicks in from 4,000 RPM, and that's fun. After the first test drives, car journalists praised the 911S for the sum of its extraordinary parts. These included things like its excellent performance and good workmanship. Isn't it wonderful? Christoph Bauer asks. He says the 911s being built today are just facelifted versions of this original, which made its debut at the Frankfurt Motor Show in 1963. No other sports car has been so successful in motorsports and in sales figures, he claims. But he says it's little wonder, as it's a sports car that's suited for everyday use. While the handling takes a bit of getting used to, due to the engine's position behind the rear axle, he notes that this produces good traction on mountain roads like this and makes for extremely fun driving.
Was auf Bergstraßen wie hier natürlich einen wahnsinnigen Spaß macht.
But this fun has its price. In 1966, the 911S cost 24,500 German marks, as much as 5 VW Beetles. Still, it proved a lucrative investment, as models in good condition fetch more than 50,000 euros today. The way this car is propelled from behind puts a smile on our tester's face. He says that while the 6-cylinder engine only boasts 160 horsepower, it's just wonderful to feel that power behind you. The first 911S delivers Porsche's characteristic driving pleasure in its purest form. And for that, we're even willing to overlook the car's high fuel consumption of more than 15 liters of super per 100 kilometers. Christoph Bauer says this car has everything he wants in a car. It looks fabulous, is suited to everyday use, is very comfortable yet sporty and dynamic. He thinks you can do anything with it. bring the kids to school, go shopping, and tear up Italian mountain passes. Does it get better than this? He asks. He also likes that the car isn't a diva like many of its era. As one of the few super sports cars, the first 911S, like its successors, is as good for everyday driving as it is on the racetrack. So it's only fitting that the car from Zuffenhausen has become one of the world's most beloved sports cars.